One of the areas that we know that has been really affected by the coronavirus pandemic has been the travel industry. In particular, let's talk about the market for rental homes, vacation rental homes. We're joined now by Jeff Hurst. He is the VRBO CEO and president. He's joining us from Austin, Texas. So, Jeff, first of all, just tell us what you've been seeing in terms of trends in people in demand for house rentals right now.
Absolutely. And thanks for allowing me to join, Julie. Very happy to be here. What we're seeing at VRBO is as governments loosen restrictions on travel and on isolation, people are really excited to start dreaming about when and where they're going to travel. And so there's a lot of correlation to what states have done and what countries like Germany have done. And there's pent-up demand. And so people are starting to book that trip to reconnect with families, to reconnect with grandparents and grandchildren, and even friends that I haven't seen in a long time. And they're doing it in homes. They're typically doing it in drive-to destinations. There's not nearly as much international or long-haul behavior as there used to be. But they're booking, as early as Memorial Day and as far out as a year from now, so they can have something to look forward to.
Hey, it's Adam. Thank you for joining us. I am curious, what kind of protocols do you have? I know that services similar to yours are going to require their properties to be vacant for a day or two to allow any remaining virus that might be in the air or on surfaces to just die. Do you have those kinds of things in place?
We announced new guidelines last week, which are a compilation of expert recommendations from places like World Health Organization, CDC, independently peer-reviewed. And what we're focused on is being sure that our partners are educated, that our partners know how to communicate and be transparent with travelers as their tastes evolve. And we think we've really reached a nice balance there right now. And so it's not required. It's not something that we verify, but we're going to be, running our marketplace so that travelers can make choices and partners can do what's in the best interest.
I just want to touch on when you think people will start to really come back. I mean, I talked to my wife about when we would go back to restaurants or movie theaters thinking, we don't want to be part of that first wave just in case there starts to be an uptick in exposure. So do you think people will come back en masse right away? Do you think it'll be a slow trickle, or do you think it'll take some time for people to really start going out and renting properties again?
I think they're very different use cases. I actually think that what we're seeing, vacation homes probably come back first. And in large part, if you think about even just the self-isolation dynamic, you're already spending time with your family. You're already in a house. And what people are doing is getting a different house, 30 miles away, 60 miles away, 200 miles away, so that they can just have a little bit of space, in particular if you live in a dense urban environment, and also have a little bit of variety. And so I expect that the home rental scene is very different than what you might see in restaurant or Broadway or even movie theaters, because you're not really introducing yourselves to new people and you're not in a lot of shared spaces. You're opting in to be in a different place with the people, in many cases, you're already spending time with.
You may be sick of looking at the same faces, but at least you can look at a different backdrop, I suppose, Jeff, looking at it from that perspective. Now, you mentioned your partners, because, of course, you guys work with people who are renting out their homes, as well as the people who then rent the homes from them. What kind of listing changes have you seen, if at all? Have you seen anyone pull back from listings, people who perhaps need the home that they were formerly renting out, or are there any other trends on their part that you've seen?
There aren't notable breaks yet. I think it's all a very individual decision. And so when we look back on the last recessionary environment, 2008, 2009, that was a period where a lot of inventory actually came online as people were looking to monetize their second homes potentially more, given the economic construct. What we're seeing right now is that it's more steady than not. We know there are some people who are opting to actually use their second home instead of renting it out, while other people are seeing that there's likely to be potentially even more demand in some of these destinations and for this use case. And so they're dipping their toe in the water for the first time. In general, a supply constraint is not something I'm nervous about. I'm definitely more focused on how we can present our incredible experience that we've been providing to families for over 25 years in a way that's compelling in the context of COVID.
Hey, Jeff, Rick Newman here. I'm thinking of people who own a second home and actually need the rental income to pay the mortgage. So I'm wondering if you're seeing or anticipating any, distressed owners or distressed sales or anything like that, because people are not getting the income they need to keep the house afloat.
I don't have any data to suggest it's happening yet. I think it's a valid concern, and certainly finding a good balanced approach to who bears, the economics of the crisis is something that we've been really focused on as we've worked through and been encouraging our partners to work with travelers and be sure that the economic engine of vacation rentals stays intact, while at the same time travelers have good experiences and can potentially reschedule their stays, earn credits, and be in a position to come experience it at a time when travel, is a better option for some families. And so I think you'll see pockets of it. I expect it to be a bigger issue in places where vacation rentals were legal in urban environments and where people may have placed that as a means of building a business. I don't think it's going to be as big of an issue as you look at the core VRBO proposition, which is traditionally your rivers, your lakes, your beaches, your mountains. It's getting away from the hustle and bustle as much or more so than it is that urban destination.
Jeff, what has the cancellation versus rebooking rate been like? There's been a lot of talk about that rate when it comes to cruise lines, for example. Although I imagine some people are booking out in the case of VRBO. And so I don't know if even if you want to rebook, if there's an available time that you can do that. So have you tracked the cancellation rate, and what effect has that had on your partners in terms of the hit that they might be taking?
Yeah, I mean, it is incredibly disruptive. And so whether your flights or hotels or vacation rentals or cruises, there was a period of time, March through April, and still ongoing now to some extent, where everything was being canceled. When the flights were canceled, you can't get there. A lot of people were concerned around, is it safe to travel? And so there was an absolute wave of cancellations. We're enthusiastic with the trends we're seeing in terms of people rebooking. And I think that the balancing act on it is we offer, hundreds of thousands of homes that have flexible cancellation policies. And so we see people rebooking further out in the future to where it's still risk-free. They still have the opportunity to learn more, have all of the rental refunded, and make a decision later. And so they're pushing things out a little bit further into the summer, or they're booking things really clear and, in the immediate future, like Memorial Day, because they already feel safe that they can get away and that trip's going to come and happen.
Jeff, I just want to kind of quickly touch on the idea that there are some areas where maybe attractions won't be open. Things that you would want to do outside the home may still be closed. How do you get people to be interested in renting when they might just go from sheltering in one place to sheltering in a new place?
Right. It is there are destinations where the attractions are the reason you get the home. And I think, a destination like Orlando, when the theme parks have closed, has a different profile versus when all the theme parks are open. We are seeing theme parks start to open in other parts of the world. But the core value proposition for us, as we think about families who travel together, is being together. And so, in my own use case, I'm in a house in Austin. And if we can go get away to a lake, where there's a place for the kids to be in the water or to water ski or to spend time in the backyard or to have a fire pit. Those are uniquely different moments enabled by a different home to go spend time in, and they don't require you to have access to a bustling restaurant or a theater or a theme park. You've still got a time to have a very different type of connection that's meaningful and I think more needed than ever in environments like this.
Jeff, thanks for your time. Jeff Hurst is the CEO and president of VRBO. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.